Hey everyone, my name's Nick.
And I'm Ray, and today we're going to be talking about World of Warcraft, specifically the design, talent, philosophy for Dragonflight in the future. If you haven't seen our World of Warcraft expansion list, go ahead and check that out where we give our thoughts in the most general manner, quick way on what expansions we liked the best as avid World of Warcraft players, myself at least. I am excited. Well, myself is I'm excited. I'm excited for Dragonflight because of the return of the talent trees. And with that, we thought we'd go over a little bit of the design philosophy. I know we're a little late to the game, but hey, we just want to give our thoughts out there on it because, I mean, we're your casual, hardcore potential gamers. We've been hardcore in the past, but we're casual at times. You know, life's busy. We're not like limit max or anything crazy, you know, like those just super good raiders that can dedicate to it. But with that said, go ahead and talk about some design philosophy changes, right?
Sure. And I guess before we get started, just to say, I'm very happy that they're bringing back talent trees. Even in the new way that I've seen, I am not upset that they're revamping the talent tree system because I think what they got rid of talent trees for, where it's just like every 15 levels you select between three abilities, was pretty lame, and it felt really lame while leveling. Now, over the past few expansions, Blizzard has really gotten away from the leveling experience being a main part of the game, which is fine. But still, I think the talent trees are really fun. And for people who do enjoy the leveling experience, it's going to make it a lot more fun for them, not only fun at max level.
Yeah. I hated leveling in general. I always hate leveling in general. But with that, getting a level and seeing the little text box say, you know, oh, you got this much more health, this, that, talent tree. And then you could go to a trainer and get new spells. Decide, I mean, yeah, it sucked that you had to spend gold, especially if you were new and you didn't have gold, but it felt super impactful when you got it.
Yes.
And I think a big part of me hating leveling even more is it took that away and it's literally just brain dead to me now. So I'm really excited they're going back because I also did not like when they changed to the talent tree system that's currently at play. And I think they can do a lot of fun stuff with it, especially with all the abilities that have come through over the years, like the Legion artifacts and stuff. Those abilities might be able to come through in some classes. These Covenant abilities, some of them are really fun. I mean, I'm a Druid, right? We're going to look primarily at the Druid talent tree today. And Convoke the Elements, I think, is probably one of the most fun spells ever invented in the game. Not fun to play against at first in PvP because you would literally get one shot. Like you would press it and one shot the whole team. But, I mean, in PvE content, it's just fun to press the button and see a moon fall, just right, and your damage shoot. That was fun. So with that, we're going to go over the design philosophy, see if we agree with it, what our take on it is. And then we're going to look at the talent tree itself for the Druids, which we both have vast experience playing throughout the years. So with that, let's go ahead and begin, right? We're just going to read a quick little blurb. Some of our biggest goals in the class and talent revamp are to increase player agency over your character's progression and build, provide meaningful rewards while leveling, and reinforce your character's connection to both their class and their spec. In addition, we felt we had to retain many features of modern World of Warcraft specializations. Specs have many unique abilities, some of which may be central to the identity of the spec. They have a wide variety of optional bonuses that have been created at various times over the years. This all led us back to talent trees, a concept familiar to people who played WoW before MoP. And I really like their opening paragraph here because player agency really is all that players want. We don't want to get locked into anything. And I actually think Death Knights are in a really good spot right now. Fun fact, Death Knights on live, they can play pretty much any of the covenants, and all of them are competitive with each other. I mean, there is still obviously a best, but all of them are competitive enough to play the Covenant you want to play, right? Because Abomination Limbs are fun. Death's Due is cool for cleave. Tanking as Venthyr was fun because you got like a 20% dodge from the Swarming Mist or whatever it was, and then you blew up at the end for massive damage. Kyrian, I've never played Kyrian because I don't want to play Disney character. But I think player agency is key, and I think talent trees are part of it, even if there are shit talents, you know?
Yeah, and I think one of the original, at least one of the reasons that they give when they initially took away the talent trees was that everyone just uses the same talent tree anyway. You just go online and look up whatever's best and copy that, which is true to an extent. But back then when you had the talent tree, there were still a few points that didn't have to be in that main one, and you can put into different trees. And it was fun. It was cool. And for the people who were at the very top level of player and player of their classes, they did have a lot of agency over what they were doing and creating what everyone else ends up following, which is how most things happen. But yeah, I'm happy that they're coming back to it.
Yeah, I'm really glad. And a big problem with that, though, was, and I fell into this trap real early on. I would go to elitistjerks.com and look up all the builds, and just follow that stuff. But there are still the theory crafters today, like for Druids, Tettles, he's the big one. He does all the guides on it. And I mean, legit, like, it's always a thing. People always want to play the best. So if that's the case, give us at least some more options to have fun with and make it feel more impactful for little shits, So I'm really happy about that. Let's look over some of the bullet points, or actually let's look at the big paragraph at the end there. Before the bullet points. Another fundamental change is that much more of your class is represented in the tree instead of being awarded automatically while leveling up. Other than the starting abilities you obtain before you access the system at level 10, the vast majority of abilities are obtained via the tree. This gives rise to some of the most important questions and challenges of the new system. Exploring a world where more things are optional has a lot of advantages, but require a lot of care. I think that's a great blurb if it's implemented correctly.
Yes, and so one thing that what we did not read from that previous paragraph is that there's going to be 2 talent trees now, one for your class and one for your spec. And so what this has given me the feeling of is that potentially class trainers are going to go away.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'm a big fan of that, because then maybe all Blizzard or all the developers are going to do is put any new ability they would have given to the class trainer, just put it in the talent tree and take up a spot instead. So I feel like that could lead to some laziness, but that's just me being a little bit
Blizzard
cynical.
Lazy, come on.
I know. That's just me being cynical, but I mean, to be fair, Blizzard does kind of deserve it at this point.
Yeah.
So I hope that they don't just go down that lazy route where it's like, okay, we're going to remove the class trainer. Now you just get all of your new abilities from the talent tree. Oh, we don't really have to create that many new things. So
yeah,
a little worry, but I still think it could be done well.
That's the thing. I think the big thing they have here, and I hope they utilize it, is all of the stuff they've created over the years for their systems, right? Mm-hmm. Starting from Legion, right? Those Legion artifacts, that's so many cool abilities. The corruption gear. Everybody hated corruption gear, but corruption gear was fun when you got the right corruption gear. It just sucked to grind them. The big Twilight Beam, Devastation Beam, or whatever it was, that was super overpowered. That could be a cool ability for, I don't know, that could be like a warlock or a demon hunter, right? Because that's the whatever energy they use. I don't know. But there's a lot of cool things they can use throughout it. Give feral druids, for example, the corruption that bled. That was cool. That'd be a cool ability to have, But it can be lazy, and that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good point. They have a ton of content to pull from where they've been scrapping these borrowed power systems for so long. Now they have so much to be able to pull from. So that's good for them, where they had all these cool things going on with, as you had mentioned, the Covenants, the Legion artifacts, the Legion legendaries. It's just, they have a lot, and I hope that they take the coolest, and I'm sure that they will, the coolest things from those and bring them up to us.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Like I said, there's a chance for it to be really cool. And the philosophy that we've read so far, and I'm sure you guys have read, makes me hopeful. Again, you can just go to worldofwarcraft.com. This is online. You can read the philosophy for yourself. We're not going to go word for word through it because you guys are able to read. I believe in you guys. I like what I'm hearing for the most part so far. And with that, doesn't this all mean that I will use some of my points to rebuy some things that were baseline in Shadowlands? Their response was, for all the reasons mentioned above, making a huge swath of abilities open to player decision-making requires this. We hear this feedback as primarily a concern about having much less stuff than you had in Shadowlands. After starting with your basic class and spending 61 points in a tree, you feel pruned, or will you feel pruned? Openly, our goal is that you don't. We'll be watching for feedback on this. Our goal is for a Dragonflight character to feel like it has a similar amount of power and complexity, which can be hard to quantify, as a Shadowlands character. The main difference is you getting to choose which active buttons and passive bonuses make up that tool set, and potentially having combinations that were previously impossible. This excites me as a rogue as well, because back in the day, you remember the Mutilate build, the hybrid build in Wrath of the Lich King?
Yes,
that was so much fun. Impossible to do now, you know? So I think my biggest takeaway from this is that they don't want to remove class identity, and they want to potentially bring more class identity back, such as Hunters, Eyes of the Beast. Yeah, it's useless. I'm not saying it's gone. It was pruned at one point, though, I think.
Yes.
But bringing some of that class identity back, even if they are useless abilities, you can get them. And I think that's really cool for people who don't want to raid Mythic and just want to go farm mounts and farm old content, right? Mm-hmm. I think that flair would be really healthy for the game as a whole. I really do, because class identity, I mean, it worked well in Legion with the class order halls, you know?
Yeah. And one thing that this kind of touches on that I like is, and that you had mentioned, hybrid classes. Hybrid classes are cool. I like it. And as we've seen, there's not really any hybrid classes. Since the talent tree that we are going to be looking at is the Druid, for instance, one of the current Druid, what would you call it, talents, ability, whatever, I don't know what it's called now, but one of the things that you select is you get to choose which affinity you have. So you can be a Boomkin Druid, but you have an affinity to Resto, and you get a few Resto spells. So given just the freedom to, you want an affinity to Resto, okay, here's Rejuve, here's this and this, and having it be a little more tailored to you and what you want. I really like that.
Yeah. But the only other thing on this, let's look at a few nuts and bolts, just kind of close up the philosophy of it. The experience of using the tree will be more intuitive when you play with the system in game, but we want to provide some explanation here for those who want to analyze the current draft trees in detail. They're all subject to change. First bullet point is your class tree. Your first class tree point is awarded at level 10, and your first spec tree point at 11, alternating between the two from there. At level 70, you will have 31 available class points and 30 specialization points. I think that's a great idea. Okay. I think it's great implementation of it. Certain basic abilities are in the class tree, are given automatically to people of particular specs. These do not cost any points. Most talents have prereqs, of course. Every tree has certain rows that you can't advance past until you spend a certain number of talent trees, like it used to be, right? Yep. And in octagonal choice nodes, you may obtain one of the two choices at a time. My closing thoughts on the philosophy in general is I'm just super excited that we're going back to like kind of an RPG talent tree for what is an RPG, Yeah,
I like it. Everything that you just read there, I'm a fan of. It sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm glad they're finally kind of listening there a little bit. But
wisen up.
Yeah, I know, right? And with that, let's take our first look at the talent tree for Druids. To begin, we are here on the Restoration talent tree for Dragonflight, obviously subject to change. Let's go ahead and start on Restoration itself and then go to the class tree. So right off the bat, you got to get a Life Bloom. I mean, you got to put a point in it. You're getting Life Bloom. It's one of my favorite spells personally. Love Life Bloom.
So it looks like also that all of these, right, I'm assuming the 1 point are the active ability, Life Bloom. What is that? Nature Swiftness, Effervescence, whatever it's called.
Efflorescence and Element of Clarity.
Yeah, so each of the 1 points are going to be abilities, I'm assuming, and then the multiple points where it looks like 2 max at this point are going to be passives for those?
Yeah.
Does that seem about right? Okay.
Yeah. So Nature Swiftness currently is really good because you can bake it into Convoke. So that way you get the extra bonus healing on your regrowths from it. Little known fact, if you don't do that, macro it into it. And then you still get to use Nature Swiftness after it. So you actually get like a double bonus from it. Cool little trick. Omen of Clarity, super important. Obviously, gives you free regrowths, which are always good. And then Efflorescence, it's kind of super important. So what are we going to pick from here? Let's pick Efflorescence, yeah. Let's focus on building a Restoration Druid that AoE heals, yeah? Let's focus on that. Let's so we'll go efflorescence. From here, improve life bloom. I don't know if we'd want that for that though.
Yeah, see, and
life bloom's coming up after it, but we need wild growth. So,
exactly. And so this is where the tree gets kind of interesting, right? You don't necessarily have to go into this, so we can just do nature swiftness, efflorescence, and you can also go on to the other side and do iron bark at the same time. But if you want to do AoE healing, you need to get the improved life bloom. You need to get the improved wild growth, right?
Yeah.
And you'd probably want to go into the unstoppable growth, which you cannot get unless you get the improved life bloom.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and grab improved life bloom. Obviously, we need improved wild growth, and we cannot get unstoppable growth or tranquility yet. So let's grab Omen of Clarity, because we're going to have life blooms rolling anyway, so we'll grab that. And I think Iron Bark. Now we still don't have enough points to get down to the next tier. Did you not
get Nature Swiftness?
No, I left that out right now. Yeah, you know what? Let's get Nature Swiftness too, because in and of itself, it's a good spell. So we'll grab that. I'm leaving improved regrowth and improved Iron Bark off the list.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
Here we'll grab Unstoppable Growth at 2, right? Which is a current conduit in Shadowlands. It's a really good one. Obviously, we want Tranquility, so we'll grab that. And now here is where is interesting to me. So there's a passive heal in Ysera's Gift. You can get Inner Peace, which reduces the cooldown of Tranquility by up to a minute, and you get reduced damage and immune to knockback, so really, really good. That's a current talent. Although I think Soul of the Forest is what we grab here. Swiftman increases the healing of your next regrowth or rejuve by 200%, or your next wild growth by 75%. That is such a broken spell. I love it. So
sure.
We'll grab that, which allows us to get Cenarian Ward or Abundance. Cenarian Ward currently is more of a Mythic Plus talent, whereas Abundance is more of a raid talent. So we're going AoE healing, so we'll grab Abundance. And now we need a couple more points spent in this talent tree. How many more? 7 before we can get to the next tier. So I don't care about Nourish. Cultivation, when Rejuve heals a target, it applies Cultivation. We're going to need that because that synergizes well with Rejuve and a couple other spells. So we need Ysera's Gift at 1. No, I lied. At 2. All right.
Wow. So you can't even, if you got everything on the left side at this point, right? Assuming you don't go Iron Bark, and even if you get Omen of Clarity, you cannot advance. So you basically have to get Iron Bark and Ysera's Gift.
Yeah.
At least 1 point. Wow.
Yeah. So let's look at. We need 4 more points to spend. Let's go ahead and grab that Trank 1, Inner Peace. Increases all healing done by Trank and Wild Growth based on current health of target. So improved Trank and Wild Growth. We're going to grab that one. And now we're left with 1 point to spend. So we could grab Nourish, Stone Bark, improved Iron Bark, or improved Regrowth, or improved Nature Swiftness. I think an improved Regrowth would probably be what we grab for now, for throughput specifically.
Sure.
All right, now into the last tier, right? Last section. We'll start at the left. Spring Blossom. Each target healed by efflorescence is healed for a small amount of additional healing over 6 seconds. That's really good currently in raids. Overgrowth. Apply Life Bloom, Rejuve, Wild Growth, and Regrowth's heal over time effect to an ally. So that puts all the hots on at once. I think Spring Blossoms would be the AoE choice. Rampant Growth, Regrowth heals for more over its duration, and its healing over time effects also applies to the target of your Life Bloom. Interesting, actually. So is that saying for every Regrowth hot you have on the raid, your Life Bloom target gets all of that healing too?
Yeah.
That's
so whoever
crazy.
has your Life Bloom also gets the regrowth effects. That is crazy.
That's really good. We'll pause on that one. Autumn Leaves, rejuvenation duration is increased by 1 second, and it heals for an additional amount when it is your only heal over time on a target. That's straight up good for raids, depending on how much additional amount. So we'll hold off. Well, actually, we need that one to go down the list. Grove Tending Swiftman heals the target for an additional amount over 9 seconds. That's pretty good. But we cannot get Invigorate or Memory of the Mother Tree. We can't go to the right side, which has Flourish, which is incredibly good, unless we grab Stone Bark at 2.
And so what's kind of cool about this, right? I have mine built out a little bit different. Just to see, you can get all of the main abilities. So you can get Flourish, you can get Convoke and Improved Incarnation, and Convoke, and the Photosynthesis and Dark Titan's Lesson. You can get all 3 of those at the same time, but you won't be able to get those branches off of it if you do.
Yeah, so essentially it's, do you want Photosynthesis or the Dark Titan's Lesson, which both of those are tank heals straight up. Adaptive Swarm is good. Circle of Life and Death is really good. Then Ephemeral Incarnation, every 3 casts of Swiftman grants you Incarn Tree of Life. We need that to pair with Convoke. Can we get there? Let me see. Hold on. Yes, we can. Sorry. So every 3rd Swiftman, you go into Incarn, and then you Convoke inside of Incarn. They'll pretty much always line up, and it puts out so much healing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The fact that you can do these and get Flourish, which would be the other one you want.
Yeah, keep in mind this is all subject to change. So I'm assuming that some of the I bet they're going to have to redo.
I don't want them to. I like this build. This build's fun. Literally right now, what I'm seeing right now legitimately is current Resto Druid is keeping its fun healing throughput, and it puts out so much healing throughput because it doesn't have something like Devotion Aura or Power Word Barrier, right, or Spirit Shell. So they need more throughput. They don't do that much damage compared to a Holy Pally, for example. There's no Ashen Hollow, which is fucking broken. Don't care what you say. But no, I like this actually so far. So again, this is our first time looking at the Resto Druid talent tree. And what I'm seeing right now, I actually really, really like. I don't think this would be the best in every scenario, but this is actually something I would straight up play. Sure. Because I want Incarn with Convoke, and this is how you get it. And I think that's just really fun gameplay. Even if it's not the best gameplay in the world, that's what I'm running because that's what I enjoy.
Now, you and I obviously play Druid as well. So we have to also imagine that this is going to be for every single spec, for every single class. So this is a lot.
Yeah.
Which I like it. I think it's going to be really cool.
So overall, on the restoration side of things, real quick, to wrap this up,
sure.
I think it's phenomenal.
Sure. I think it's going to be fun. I think that there's going to be, after beta comes out, there's going to be a lot of tuning. I am foreseeing many classes being completely broken.
Yeah, but my main thing on this is there's going to be tuning. But as long as this isn't nerfed into the ground, say it's like 3% worse than the absolute best, this is the play style I want to play. I want to play the every 3rd Swiftman, Convoke. It's just fun. So I think they did a really good job with the Druid restoration tree, and putting the because there's a lot of potential other combinations here, which would work really well for a lot of different scenarios. So I think they're doing a good job. And
what's cool about this as well is that they're taking things like Convoke the Spirits, which is
fun, a
Covenant ability. They have a four set bonus on here, right? They're taking things not just from class ability. So I really like that. I like how they're able to take from all these things, include them in the tree, and I think it's going to be really fun for that.
Yeah. Side note, I hope for rogues they put in their old tier set where Tricks of the Trade gave a 20% damage increase to the target.
Oh yeah, right.
Because it was fun messing with like really high threat classes, damage classes, and you give them tricks right on the pool and they get boss aggro and just die instantly. That was a lot of fun. You couldn't do it to hunters; they have misdirect, but
just trolling, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. So let's take a look at the Druid tree, huh?
Yeah, and so one thing that I want to say right off the bat that I'm noticing on the Druid tree is you're gonna have to decide on what you want, right? It looks like Cyclone is just kind of off on its own. If you want Typhoon, you have to go really to the right. Like you're gonna have to be very intentional on what you want, especially like if you're a PvPer. You're gonna have to be very intentional on whether you want to have a remove corruption, right? Whether you want to be able to remove curses. So yeah, just one of the first things that I noticed.
Yeah, and I mean, we're definitely locked in because we need wild growth at the very least. So let us at least right off the bat get to wild growth. Remove corruption, obviously needed as any healer. Healing and magic damage dealt increased by 246%. We need all of that. But we still need to spend 4 more points. So let's look around. We can grab Frenzied Regen, Rake, Starfire, or Improved Barkskin. So let's you want to go caster with this?
Yeah, and since we built the other one, since we're building as resto, I would just Frenzied Regen.
Frenzied Regen?
No?
I mean, yeah, no.
Right? As you're just one off point?
Yeah, we honestly, I like Frenzied Regen a lot because it heals so much. And with that, just looking at the rest, if we're going for purely AoE healing here, we grab Improved Barkskin and Improved Frenzied Regen, which is going to give us 40% Frenzied Regen. So if, we need to soak something, we can press that button, which will put us in barrel form, which is already tankier in general. It'll allow us to do what we need there. So I think we do that. That opens up the next set of trees, right? So let's look at those. Hold on. There we go. We have to get this increased healing and healing taken right under remove corruption. We have to grab that. Right, that's 6% healing. We're grabbing that. And now we can grab wild growth. Cool. So we got wild growth. Now what else do we want to grab is the question.
Yeah, so that astral influence is cool. Resto and Druid or Resto and balance increases range of all your abilities.
Oh, that's huge, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Obviously we're speccing for raid. I'm saying no Typhoon.
Yeah. So,
and I'm sure, obviously, some of these things, like if you have a fight where you're going to need to keep some distance from some ads, obviously you're going to need Typhoon. But even then, you can probably take a wild charge or something on the left.
Yeah. I think we grab wild charge. We need a soothe. Druids
might as well get Stampeding Roar, right?
Yeah, we definitely want Stamp Roar. And now we have 6 points to spend, and we want to get Astral Influence. So we need Starfire, Star Surge, Moon Conform.
I have that. I did not do Hibernate.
And then Astral Influence at 2, so an extra 5 yards on spells. Now.
And then I think you just have 1 remaining, right?
1 point, so we can grab Hibernate or Sunfire or Typhoon.
Ooh. I would grab Cyclone.
Oh, actually. Personally. Yeah, we can grab Cyclone. Honestly,
and a lot of these are going to be situational. I bet on the high end raiders, every single fight there's going to be Hearthstone's out, respec real quick. So that's just how it goes. But
I think Cyclone or Hibernate, depending on what you're doing, would be the move. Maybe a Sunfire if you need damage and like a Mythic Plus, but that's going to be an entirely different build. So we're doing a raid build where we don't need a damage. So Cyclone or Hibernate is what I would go with. Maybe Typhoon, depending on ad control. And now we're in our next tier. Like Kara's teachings, you gain 1, 2, 3% of a stat based on your current form, no form haste, which is incredibly potent for Resto Druids. So I think we grab. Oh wait, let's look at the bottom tier.
I think you must just grab everything on the right and everything in the middle.
Yeah,
unless you don't want the improved Stampeding Roar.
Well, we want improved Reju for sure. Ursul's Vortex, Innervate, Nature's Vigil. For 20 seconds, all single target healing and damage spells and abilities also heal in nearby friendly target based on the amount done, 20%. Whoa, hold on. Is this this is like disc pre shit. For 20 seconds, all single target healing and damage spells and abilities also heal a nearby friendly target based on the amount done. 20% for heals, 40% for damage, 1.5 minute cooldown. That is actually fun.
Yeah. I wonder. I'm sure it's got to be a target chosen at random, right?
Yeah.
You would think. So probably just whoever's the lowest. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So let's grab Nature's Vigil.
Again, everything is subject to change. So I wouldn't imagine that these are going to be exactly the same.
Don't give them ideas. This will be balanced. All right. So I got 4 points left. So for the bottom tier, what I'm in right now, I got the 3 points in Lycara's Teaching, Improved Reju, Versals, Vortex, Innervate, and Nature's Vigil.
Yeah, I'm getting Renewal and Heart of the Wild, potentially improved Stampeding Roar. I mean, I think these remaining 4 or 5 are basically up to your preference, where you could go a little bit into the feral side if you wanted, or you could pick up a couple of Typhoon and Sunfire if you want.
Yeah, I think I would grab Sunfire with improved Sunfire. Only because, I mean, even in raids, so currently on Anduin, there's a huge ad phase, and if you just Sunfire the whole group, I mean, you're going to get out 300,000 damage just from the Sunfire, which can help.
Be useful to the raid.
Yeah, and it's one button, and it applies to everything. And then you get Heart of the Wild, Renewal as well. So no, honestly, I mean, just looking at this, I think the talent tree as a whole, even on the feral and tanky side, right? You can get Iron Fur, Thick Hide's dope. I mean, literally, it looks like if you spec into the side, you can straight up almost actually tank for the duration of Heart of the Wild, be a main tank if need be.
So yeah, if you go on the left or the right, you cannot get into the other side.
Well, yeah, I mean, you lose 6% healing, so I think that needs to be moved to a spot where the 3 spec. So, for example, increased healing and magic damage. I think that would need to be in a spot where it can flow from Feral Affinity, Moonkin Affinity, or Bear Affinity, because legitimately, the 6% healing is way too much, and everyone's going to go Moonkin Affinity for it. So I think that's the odd man out, honestly, out of everything. But aside from that,
I think so. Overall, I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's cool having the two. I think that Blizzard can get into a little bit of or they can have a little bit of an issue if they decide to put too many Cyclone and Typhoon and Remove Curse, having those things not even in this setup, if you are going feral, you can't get Cyclone pretty much.
No, not only that, but you lose 6% healing, you lose wild growth potentially.
So this is going to take a lot of balancing because, again, feral just can't have wild growth. Feral can't have Cyclone. Feral cannot have Sunfire, which not necessarily. They can't have Hibernate either. So they're losing a lot of CC that they potentially had before.
Yeah.
Now, they also still have their Mighty Bash or Incapacitating Roar, whichever one they want. So, they still have some things.
Well,
Bash.
Mind you, this will be for, so you're a Resto Druid, and this is not necessarily what it would look like for Feral Affinity, right? Let's just call these affinities. Feral not having Sunfire, not that big of a deal. Feral Affinity, as long as actually Sunfire does so much damage right now in Mythic Plus, even with Feral Affinity. But yeah, I think the big thing is these Cyclone, Hibernate, Typhoon, Wild Growth especially, because the thing is you're going healer. You need these healer options. The rest, however, should all the 3 affinities should be able to bleed into Wild Growth, right? Feral is locked away. Feral Affinity is locked away from Wild Growth, and no one's going to play that. Which that's where the issue lies, I think. So I think it just needs to make it so each affinity can at least get the extra options that just the spec itself gets. And then you can branch out and say, all right, well, I want to be a feral and I get this bonus, right?
Yeah. And so I'm kind of redoing this as a guardian, right? Which is obviously tank Druid, and you can comfortably go into like Rejuve, Swiftmend, and Wild Growth. But the thing is, if you're going to be running as Cat, as the actual feral form, not Guardian, then you're not going to get those things. So I think as a Guardian Druid, you will comfortably, in this setup, you will comfortably have those heals, no problem. But if you're running Cat, you probably won't. In fact, I can't see how you would get them as Cat form.
Yeah, you lose out Hibernate, Cyclone, Typhoon. That's huge.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of stuff that you're losing out on
but
that
you can
is
get
actually
Roar, maybe.
It's actually pretty significant, I think, especially in a PvP type setting. I know we're focusing on raiding right now, but as a PvPer, if you're going to be like, I don't know, Warsong Gold Flag Carrier, which, I mean, who the heck specs for that specifically? But still, you can't be a Guardian Druid and have Cyclone and have Typhoon or Hibernate or whatever.
Yeah.
You just can't. So I could see some issues with this. But overall, I think this is fun. This is a good idea. I like the 2 trees. It's fun. I like it. I'm a fan of it.
Yeah, I think once it's balanced out, and they get community feedback on it, which here's some community feedback, make it so wild growth can be got by feral kitties, please. I think once that's done, I mean, this has so much potential to it. I mean, just on the restoration tree itself, I love. Druid tree, I think there needs to be a little bit more.
And as
whatever,
I've made Hunter for a long time, and I think I'm thinking about this as just with the newer way that they do Survival Hunter, where it's a melee class. I think there can be a lot of fun interplay where you have a lot of that, like Harpoon, where you get pulled into the target and you're Beastmaster, so you can be. I think there can be a lot of cool stuff going on with other classes as well, where you get to pull from multiple specs. I think it'll be a fun time for hybrid specs, honestly.
Yeah, people are going to be confused about it at first, but once, I mean, I remember when I first started playing World of Warcraft, I was confused in general about it. My rogue was built just the worst, but I mean, you get used to it over time, which I think is a good feeling to get. You know, you're like, oh no, I know. It's like when you get really good at your job. Because when you first start a job, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? But over time, you're like, oh no, this is what you do, or this is what you do, and you can make changes on the fly, and I think that's a really rewarding feeling. So I really like going back to the talent tree, because I'm not comparing it to a job, obviously, but just a feeling of reward, and that's what I get from it. So, overall, I really like the design philosophy that they put out, and from what I'm seeing on the Druid spec tree so far, I'm optimistic. I'm highly optimistic, I'll say. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I like I had said before, I like this idea from what Wowhead has up right now as just their template for us to fill out. It's fun. I like it. I think it's a good idea. I hope Blizzard does this well. I am not so optimistic. I think Blizzard has been doing a terrible job with their games lately in the past few years. I'm not that hopeful, but I will most likely play it in the beginning. Not most likely, I will. I will play it on release, and I hope it is fun, but I'm not hopeful. I think they need to prove it to us as players that they can still make a good game. So we'll see, though.
I can agree there. But with that, those are my final closing thoughts. So, Ray, out.
Thanks for watching.